Welcome to the Around the District podcast. I'm Gabi Mazar.
I'm Nicole Brown.
And today we have a special guest host, Nancy Tapuzian. She'll be interviewing Robert Conway regarding the Maricopa County Recorder's Office removing 80,000 people from the voter registration rolls.
Take a listen.
Hi, this is Nancy Tapuzian.
And I'm Robert Conway.
So, Robert, tell me, obviously, you got this letter from where?
Well, it's from the county recorder's office.
And was it thank you for voting, being a...
No, it was a little more troubling than that. Essentially what it was a letter claiming that because of an MVD mistake, an ADOT mistake, I was going to be struck from the rolls unless I responded. Then it gets even stranger. The whole thing gets kind of really out of whack. Then they say, okay, no, that letter was incorrect, but instead we need you to prove that you're a citizen of the United States. And I'm like, who would, at this day and age, who would ever claim to be that who wasn't? Anyway, sorry, lame joke. But I looked into it and I found out that Channel 5 was already doing a story on this. So I kind of connected with them and, went on air and talked about it a little bit with them and my experience. And then, learned some things from them about kind of what was going on, that actually the story even gets weirder as it goes along. Basically, initially, the recorder's office was blaming the entire FUBAR on this outside company, and that raised a lot of alarm bells for me because I think back on cyber ninjas and these other, pretty questionable private, enterprises that are doing things that I would consider voter suppression tactics that we hear about all over the country, like in Georgia and other places. But this company was the print shop, meaning all this company did was take a letter from the recorder's office, make 500,000 copies of it, and that's all they did. So they changed the wording of the letter? That sounds fishy. So that story changed to, no, it was an internal mistake. So the story just kept changing. The goalposts kept moving. And all this, particularly in today's climate, and what I really wanted to stress when I talked to Channel 5 and when I just, it's anything along the lines of this, raises a lot of alarm bells in today's political climate because of, all the stories we hear about voter suppression. And
So when you originally said it started with ADOT, what was the reasoning?
Technical FUBAR, ADOT lost this and ADOT's dog ate it, and
ADOT has a dog.
Yeah, exactly.
We have
just very much like very, very little detail, essentially technical malfunction. We lost your data. At first, there were some concerns. Maybe it's just an identity theft. What do you call it? When they bait you, whatever that's called, like a fake. Someone saying they're from the government, so you disclose your private information.
Like ICE.
Well, yeah, like ICE. So you open up, 20 credit card accounts overseas or something. Mm-hmm. When I found out it was legitimate and it affected something like, I believe it was about 80,000 Maricopa County residents, then it was obviously not, some phishing. That's what we're looking for, a phishing expedition to get our private information, and then. All of a sudden we open up 20 credit card lines. So, but it just got stranger. I mean, again, rather than getting any clarity and rather than getting what really upset me about Justin, and I'm blanking on his last name right now. Justin Heap, what really upset me about him was, the lack of accountability and the changing story. And he's a public servant. He's also someone that's a registered Republican. I don't know how MAGA he is, but it's still just, again, because he's not like an appointed position, he's an elected official. Politics today is very dirty. I can't accuse him of anything because I don't have information that proves he did anything nefarious. It's just the entire thing, looking at it kind of from a bird's eye view, is, oh, this just stinks. And, Mr. Heap did himself no favors by making it inconsistent in what was coming out of his office.
So did they ever say, don't worry about the letter, we've got this?
As far as I know, I still need to prove that I'm a citizen, which I can do. That's just like, okay, but, and I will do it. That's not a problem for someone like me because I'm kind of obsessive about this stuff. I vote early. I make sure that they've received my ballot. But I think about the tens of thousands of folks who don't do that. They could show up on election day and find out. I mean, like for snail mail, I barely check mine anymore. Everything that I get that's relevant comes through my email.
Right.
I mean, it's not even like sending something in the mail even today is kind of like, I think I received a letter. It was like maybe a week old before I even opened it. because I just get so few correspondence that way. And I'm not alone in that, I assume, in this paperless world. There's a good chance a voter could get that letter and it could just end up hitting the recycling bin, before they see it. So yeah, the whole thing is a bit disconcerting.
So you said ABC News did a interview with you,
It was CBS News,
or CBS?
Yeah.
Sorry.
local CBS Channel 5.
Okay. Are they investigating it more?
Yes, she's been very good. Marcella is her name. I've got to get her last name. She was excellent. She followed up on the story a couple of times, and she's the one that disclosed to me way more than what I knew about the changing stories, and she's been pretty thorough on that. And yeah, I mean, as far as voters that were targeted, what she claimed is it was members of both parties, which would make me feel better. It didn't seem to be something that was singling out Democrats. It seemed to be something going to the fact of like something about our the years that our license was issued. But then again, we have another inconsistency because my license was issued when I was 16 years old. I'm 45. So this was only supposed to affect licenses issued during a certain time period, to which mine had that's true. Mine was issued that long ago, but then it was renewed only a few years ago. So there was still like, that shouldn't have applied to me. And they're claiming, oh, it's just these couple of years in the mid 90s where only these people are affected. But then because my license had been renewed since then, I shouldn't have been affected by it. It's just more incoherency. It's just more elements of the story that are changing, or at least in some cases just, well, you didn't mention this until now. That's just what's frustrating about it. And anything I think regarding voter rights or voter registration or voter status should raise alarm bells with all of us.
So when you renewed your license, did you have to show that you're a citizen?
I don't remember. In all candid and honestly, I don't remember.
Yeah, because that could be why.
It could be. It could be. The only issue is I don't know. If it was renewed during that time period, then I don't know. It should have overruled the original registration period that was the problem, because they're not asking anyone else from the 2020s or 20-aughts to do this. So,
unless they showed their original status, United States, citizen status.
Yeah.
And then they don't have to show it
Right.
again. So.
Yeah. I honestly don't know. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Like, again, I can't, I can't make any allegations of some nefarious plot here to deprive me of my rights. But when you're dealing with something as important as voter registration and voting and voter rights, and then you get an incoherent, changing, evolving story from the county recorder, that's very alarming.
Yeah.
And even if it's an innocent mistake, okay, well, get out in front of it, Mr. Heap, own it right away. Don't blame a print shop for it. That's pretty low. And that's just a lame excuse. And it seemed like Channel 5 had to pry to get any of this, So, yeah, and I just think the bigger message here is just to be vigilant. You think you're registered to vote, you think you're A-OK, make sure you are a good couple of months before the election. I mean, the good thing here is this isn't 2 weeks before an election.
Correct.
And maybe, again, I'm open to okay, it's just procedural. There was some data foobar, things happen, right?
Do you have any solutions after listening to Mr. Heap on
I don't know what to
they could
leave
do
out of
better?
that office, frankly. I'm going to follow through with it, and I'm going to follow up, but I don't know. I mean, the story has changed drastically from an ADOT foobar to, oh no, ADOT had nothing to do with it. Well, that's pretty big. It was actually a print shop malfunction. A print shop did something wrong with it. That didn't make any sense. And they said, oh no, it was somebody in our office, but actually we don't need, it's not regarding ADOT. It's, we want you now to prove you're a citizen. Because at first it was about an address change. I'm sorry if I didn't clarify that. ADOT supposedly was saying they had information that I had moved, which wasn't true. And then that story completely changed to, no, ADOT has nothing to do with it. We're not worrying about where you live. We're worried about whether you're even a citizen. So it kind of escalated, but all of a sudden the ADOT story was not being pursued anymore.
Because it's easier to blame you than blame them.
Well, they weren't even blaming me. So yeah, I mean, I guess, but it was almost like here's our excuse for sending the letter out. And they say, oh, you shouldn't have gotten that letter. The letter you should have gotten is saying, because of the year your license was issued, there was a missing data or blah, 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 blah for those specific years. But again, mine have been renewed since then. That, we just don't have any information that validates whether or not you're a citizen. And, again, just putting this all into context, like and I can't speak to the absolute validity of it, but it sounds pretty credible. I've heard a lot of credible, what I would consider credible reporting on what was happening in Georgia with this voter challenge, they call True the Vote movement and things like that, where private citizens were able to say, well, my neighbor who I know doesn't vote the way I want, I'm going to make an allegation that they're not a U.S. citizen. And then it was the onus of that voter to prove that they were. So, I mean, this is what changed my opinion, because I'm a lifelong Democrat, but I'm been very much further on the left than the mainstream. I've always been, a follower of Bernie Sanders, for instance. I voted for him in the primaries every time. And like, he was always against voter ID laws. I'm like, well, what's the big deal? I mean, you need an ID to buy a beer. Who cares? But now I get it, because any of these laws do make it more difficult for citizens to vote, because there's more loopholes. There's more, ways to kind of purge the rolls without, essentially getting fewer people to participate in democracy. I mean, and that does seem to be the ultimate goal behind these voter ID laws. And I say that because there's nowhere in this country where anyone has proved to me or to anyone, I believe, who's looking at all the facts objectively, and this includes federal judges appointed by Donald Trump, that there's anything even close to a voter fraud on the level that would have affected a single outcome of a single election. So all this energy spent behind voter fraud and voter purging, blah, 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 it's all much ado about nothing, because there's zero evidence that that we have a massive voter fraud problem in this country.
So curious, do you ever check your status?
All the time.
All the time. Did you check it before you got your letter?
No, because we're a few years away from an election. And, but I mean, I always check. I go to vote, and then I make sure that my ballot was received. I vote early for that very reason, to make sure that there's no shenanigans. And if there is, I still have time to rectify it.
Well, unless you didn't have your birth certificate, then you have to go order it, and it takes months.
Yeah, well, I don't actually. I have a passport. Hopefully that's
there
good
you go.
enough.
The passport's good enough.
Yeah.
So the reason I asked about the voter is because I know I have it on Tempe Rising's Linktree account. You go down, you can click on a button that says,
it gives you
check your
status right
voters.
away. Yep.
You can check your status.
It's so easy. You can do it in 5 seconds.
Yeah, and I recommend everybody to do
I
that every
agree
month.
Completely. No, you're right. You're right.
Just check it
Absolutely.
every month, because
And
you
do
never
it-
know.
Do it earlier than later.
Yeah.
And then follow up, and again, as you say, keep checking.
Yeah, just keep on
Periodically
checking.
check it.
I mean, I know I got pushed off the early ballot during COVID, so I had to go in during COVID and go vote. I
Well,
didn't have to. I wanted.
I was pushed off the mail-in ballot with no reason.
That's
No
what happened.
reason ever given.
Yeah.
Just, you can't vote by mail anymore. No explanation. Just show up. And I was still able to vote early, which I kind of, thank God, because otherwise, how could you fact check any of this stuff? If there is a real FUBAR, you might not catch it.
Right.
You have to fill out some provisional ballot that nobody ever counts. So.
True that. So, anything else you'd like to tell our viewers?
I guess that's what I have. Just, overall, I can't make heads or tails of what's happening with the county recorder, because the story's changed a lot, and I want to be very careful not to make accusations of anything that could be considered criminal or, accusatory in any way without information that's conclusively leaning that way. But I can certainly say that this is incompetence at its best, and at worst, it's something else. But most importantly, just check your voter status, do it often, and just make sure your polling place. The normal dog and song and dance about that. Get out and vote, and make sure you're eligible to vote.
Exactly.
Don't assume you're eligible to vote just because you voted in every election. Who knows what tricks have been pulled?
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow, what an interesting discussion.
Yeah. So I think we all need to be ballot ready, right? But something like that happened to you
Yeah.
kind of as well, right?
It did. I was moved off of the mail-in ballot list, so I didn't get my husband still got his early ballot, but I didn't, and I had to go in and re-register for that. And so it's just interesting to know that could happen without our knowledge.
And there are a lot of steps that you can take to make sure that you are registered to vote. You can get texts to make sure that your ballot is being prepared, that it has been sent, that it has been counted, and that your vote's been counted as well. And what's the website?
ballot-ready.gov
Right.
or ballot-ready.gov is good.
Yeah.
Check it. Make sure you are still registered. Make sure you are good to go on election day, any election. But make sure you're checking.
Yeah, make sure you're registered to vote because you don't want to get there on election day and not be registered because the cutoff time, what I think is 2 weeks prior, 14 days prior. And yeah, so we'll make sure that we put the links in the show notes so that you are able to grab that if you don't know where to go. But thank you for listening today to the Around the District podcast. Please like, share, and comment, and let us know if you have any questions.